Every year, hundreds of families quit homeschooling because they are so burned out. I know you don't want to get burned out. I don't want you to get burned out. So I thought I would do a video today on the mistakes that homeschoolers make that lead to burnout. If you're doing these things, you are on the road to burnout for your homeschool. So avoid them and you will be in a much better place. The first one is that they use curriculum for everything. Now, I know it feels a lot more official. It might feel less stressful to be able to just defer to a program that somebody has created that feels formal and feels like it must be really well thought out. And certainly this is going to give my child a good education. But over time, using curriculum for everything can really kind of bring your homeschooling down because it is so much stuff all the time. Curriculum comes with so many pieces. It comes with so many different facets, and it tends to pull us towards a more conventional approach to education. And the more conventional we are, the more artificial education can feel. And an artificial education becomes very dull and it becomes very boring. And it's the kind of thing that starts making kids push back. And when they push back, we get conflict. And when we get conflict, over and over and over, we finally go, oh, I am done with this. I can't do this anymore. And we quit. So that is the first thing. Don't use curriculum for everything. You really don't need curriculum for everything. The second reason that families get burned out is because they use every single resource that comes with that curriculum. So many of these programs come with the instructor's guide, and then a student workbook, and then an activity pack, and then tests and quizzes and a schedule and extracurricular kind of stuff and supplements and oh my word. And when you've spent all the money for this, it can be really hard to let yourself just take pieces out and not use it, right? Because we're like, well, I spent all the money for it. And again, we get sucked into this idea that, well, if I'm not using it all, then I'm probably doing it wrong and my child's not going to learn everything that they need to learn. And so you end up using all of these pieces and it makes your day take forever, right? And so when you are using every little piece, that is going to eventually lead to burnout. The third reason, kind of hinted at it in that second one, is that you follow that schedule that comes with your curriculum. When a publisher puts together a curriculum, they know they've got to give some kind of a guideline for how to get through this whole program in a year, right? But your child is not going to learn everything at the same pace all the time. And there is no law anywhere that says that you have to finish your curriculum by the end of the year. I am a huge proponent of taking multiple years to get through programs because that gives you wiggle room. It gives you space for bad days where you're like, we just can't do this. It gives you space for good days when you're like, oh my gosh, it's beautiful outside. We just need to put the curriculum away and go, right? When you have that schedule can take over your homeschool. And before you know it, you are no longer the boss of your homeschool. Your curriculum is. It's telling you what to do every single day. And when you feel like you have to live by this checklist and by this schedule, it can make it very hard to take days off. It can be very guilt-inducing if you want to skip things or if you want to say, well, I just want to move things around. Like, I don't even want to do this unit right now. I want to do it over here, but you feel like it messes up the whole schedule. Ugh. It makes it more difficult to do what you want to do. And the more you feel like you have to follow somebody else's rules for your homeschool, the more likely you are to get burned out. The fourth reason comes from using all of that stuff. And I hinted at it a minute ago also, it takes you like 6 hours to get through homeschool every day. If you are using all of those parts of a curriculum, or even if you're not, but you've got multiple kids and you're individualizing everything, that can make homeschooling take 6, 7, 8 hours. I know families who will start at 9 and by 4 o'clock, they're still going, but everybody is in tears. And she's like, oh my gosh, we're so done. I can't keep doing this. That's not what homeschooling was meant to be. It's one thing if it's taking until 4 o'clock to do all the things that your kids want to do and they're super excited and everybody loves it. But if it's taking you 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours a day because you are forcing everyone to slog through all this stuff, your kids are not going to stand for that. And your body, your brain, your emotional state are not going to stand for that. You are going to get burned out. Homeschooling does not have to take that long, you guys. Even for kids in high school, homeschooling does not have to take 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Now, the fifth reason is that you stick to your routine no matter what. It doesn't matter if people aren't feeling well. It doesn't matter if people woke up on the wrong side of the bed. It doesn't matter if it's a gorgeous day outside. It doesn't matter if it's a crappy, thundery day outside and nobody really feels like doing stuff. You crack that whip and you say, we are doing school today. It is a Monday. It is a Thursday. We are doing our homeschool today. And you don't let yourself mix things up. You don't let yourself stray from the routine or the schedule. You might not even just have a routine. You have an hour schedule. At this time, we're doing this. At this time, we're doing this. If you don't have any kind of flexibility, any kind of downtime, some margin in that schedule, some ability to just chuck it all at a moment's notice and say, you know what, forget it. We're just going to spend the day outside. We're going to go to the pool instead. We're going to go to the zoo. We're not even going to do anything educational today. We're just going to chuck it. And we're going to pretend like it's a one-day summer break. Everyone's going to do their own thing. If you don't allow yourself to have those breaks and it's just nonstop all the time, that is going to burn your kids out. And again, that's going to lead to that conflict. Conflict is going to lead to burnout for you. And quite frankly, trying to keep up with that kind of a schedule is probably going to lead to burnout for you before it even leads to burnout for the kids, because you're the one trying to keep it all going, right? We were not meant to live that way. Education was not meant to be something that you had to crack the whip for like that. When you are constantly fighting, you are constantly holding on to this rigid schedule, it leads to so much stress and it leads to so much frustration, and that is going to lead to burnout. Now, this last reason is actually the root cause of all those other things that we just talked about. The sixth reason, the sixth mistake that homeschoolers make that leads to burnout is that they launch their homeschool without deschooling first. Deschooling is the foundation for a homeschool that does not lead to burnout, for a homeschool that is enjoyable for everybody, for a homeschool that does not get ruled by a schedule or by a curriculum, for a homeschool that is much easier to turn on a dime, whether it means to get rid of this curriculum for the day or maybe even for the rest of the year, to just go do things that are out of the usual and different because you just kind of feel that need to kind of shake things up. When you have properly deschooled yourself, it is easier to homeschool without it feeling like school. The more your homeschool feels like school, the more likely you're going to get burned out, and the sooner you're going to get burned out. But when you have deschooled, which means that you have deprogrammed yourself from the conventional philosophy of what education is supposed to be, and you have learned about how human beings are wired to learn, and they don't actually have to use all this stuff because we have been innately given this desire to be curious and to find answers for things and to learn about things. And when we learn how to harness that and how to facilitate that and nurture that in our kids, instead of throwing an education at them with curriculum and stuff that's not really relevant to them and stuff that they're not even really interested in doing, but we're doing it because we feel like we have to. Okay. When you have deschooled, you're able to give your kids an education that is much more relevant to their life, much more interesting, much more exciting for everyone, much easier on you as the parent, and much more likely to lead to long-term success without burnout. Now, if you are trying to figure out how you can make that happen, I've got the perfect solution. It's called the deschooling experience. And it walks you through, as a parent, it walks you through this process, and it accelerates the process because deschooling can often take quite a bit of time. But when we use the deschooling experience, it accelerates, it turbo boosts that process through targeted activities and readings that tackle all of the big issues that tend to make parents go down that more conventional route that leads to burnout. And by doing this program, you're going to start being able to change your homeschool this month. You're not going to have to wait until you finish the program. You're going to start to see ways that you can dial things back a little bit, that you can start to shift things, that you can start moving that trajectory away from the path to burnout and towards a path to enjoyment for everybody. I'll put a link to that product in the description if you want to check that out. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you are new to homeschooling, I hope you will remember these mistakes and avoid them so that you can avoid the path to burnout.